issuance and establishing parameters for the sale not to exceed 3.335 million. It's resolution 2025-02 in general obligation promissory notes as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second then. Any other discussion?
Just want to note, this is a parameter sale, so as Harry had mentioned, if the criteria is met on the date of sale, what this motion does is this authorizes Matt or myself to accept the sale without it coming back to the village board. So just wanted to make sure that was clear.
Thank you, Cameron. Any other discussion? All right, having heard no more, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Any abstain? Motion carries. Next, then, we have discuss and consider request from BB Jacks to relinquish their Class B alcohol license as of March 17th. Lisa?
Okay, so we received a letter from BB Jacks to relinquish their Class B alcohol license because they are no longer in business, and they are going to be leasing the space to a new restaurant, sports bar that would take over that license, and this is a non-reserve license. So they needed to give it up before we could reissue it.
Questions from board members?
I'll make the motion to approve the request from BB Jacks to relinquish the Class B alcohol license as of March 17th, 2025.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second then. Any other discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? Motion carries. Then the next up is discuss and consider alcohol beverage license for license year July 2024 through June 2025 for Mr. Queso LLC for a restaurant sports bar.
Okay, so this is the second half of that. This will be the new bar restaurant that will be going into the former BB Jacks. The one caveat with this is that I'll mention is that it needs a conditional use permit, so that will be going to the Plan Commission next week. If you do issue this, please make that condition that it's based on that approval as well, and it won't be issued until after that time. And it was sent for background by the PD, and everything was fine.
So what is the conditional requirement? I mean, it was a bar restaurant before, so I'm just curious what's different.
So the conditional use permit for BB Jacks applied only to BB Jacks, not to a new business. That's kind of typical.
So it's essentially duplication of what was already approved, but just
For a different business, yeah.
My only question is, it's not going to be a Chicago-themed sports bar, is it? No? Okay, good. Thank you.
I'll make the motion to approve the alcohol beverage license for licensing year July 2024 to June 2025 for the restaurant sports bar as listed, pending the approval of the conditional use permit.
Second.
We have a motion and a second then. Any other discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? Motion carries. Next then, we have discuss and consider a temporary alcohol license, Class B beer license for the Cottage Grove Lions on April 12th in conjunction with the Parkinson's Half Marathon 5K event.
All right, so this is another temporary Class B license. The Parkinson's Run has partnered with the Lions so that they could obtain this license. They've done that in the past, so pretty straightforward.
I'll make the motion to approve the temporary alcohol Class B beer license for the Lions Club on April 12th, 2025 for the Parkinson's Half Marathon and 5K event.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second then. Any other discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? And I'll abstain, since I'm a Lion. Next then, we have discuss and consider repealing ordinances, Chapter 13, amusement arcades, devices. Rick?
I don't think this one was mine, but
Oh, then it's,
yeah.
It actually was mine.
Okay.
sorry.
And you weren't at the staff meeting, so, so the reason, there is a memo in the packet, the reason this is coming about is because, our ordinance is a little bit outdated, and it's a little, deceiving in the sense of, gambling, amusement devices are prohibited by this state, and so with talking with, Rick and staff, we thought it would be best just to repeal this ordinance altogether, because again, it's a little outdated.
The memo struck me a little confusing. It talks about video gambling machines are prohibited in Wisconsin, and the village ordinance may be construed by establishments as it's acceptable. I didn't read that particular.
Right, so part of it is, the way that the application is and the way that, people view the amusement devices. I think that's where we were kind of going back and forth. I'm looking at Rick because he knows the legal ins and outs of video gambling machines versus, pinball machines.
Yeah, so I mean, the ordinance technically applies to both, I guess, like for the pinball machines. So, like with the gambling machines, it's a really weird statute because it says if you've got 5 or fewer, it's $1,000 fine per machine. If it's 5 or more, then it's like a Class F felony. So that's why you see gambling machines. They're not technically legal, but so it's not something that the village would regulate. That is regulated at the DOR. So your current like amusement chapter would just be for like arcade type machines. So pinball machines, any of those types of sort of old school machines.
And I will put, we had, I think last year, we had 5 establishments. One of those will be going away because BB Jack's is no longer there. So it just really lends itself to confusion.
So Rick, entertain me, what was the original purpose of this? Or maybe Lisa, I mean, if it doesn't apply now, right? In here, it even talks about gambling devices could be seized, et cetera.
Mhm.
So, I mean, that to me is unclear as it might otherwise be, but why was it here originally?
I guess I can't speak to what the intent was. I mean, you look at some things, like my best guess, there's like a setback from schools. So I think part of it is like, we don't want arcades next to schools. So that's probably like, dates back to when arcades were maybe more popular. That would be one guess. Like as far as like the gambling machines go, I guess I just don't know the history that well to say like why this ordinance would have been passed in the first place. Or maybe the law changed regarding gambling devices after this ordinance was passed. That could also be something that happened, but I just don't know the history well enough.
Probably came in with a whole pile of ordinances that the village approved at once when they were putting all this together. Most likely is what I'm thinking.
I'll make a motion to repeal ordinance chapter 113, amusement, arcades, and devices.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have motion second. Any other discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? Motion carries. Now we'll move on to reports from village boards and commissions and committees, starting off with parks. Heidi.
Yep, so we're kind of circling back on this Houston Park Improvement bid award that we talked about last meeting, that we would utilize the Park Development Fund to cover the rest of the improvement. Is that what I'm?
That's correct.
That's right? I'm remembering this correctly. So yeah, we're just kind of circling back to close the loop and make that official for the bid award to RG Houston to complete the work. They were the lowest responsible bidder.
Yep, so last meeting, we wanted to get direction from the village board, given that the bids were a little bit higher than expected. Once we got direction from a funding source perspective, this is to actually accept the bid, the lowest responsible bidder.
I'll make a motion that we approve the bid for Houston Park Construction Project to RG Houston Company as presented.
Second?
All right, we have a motion and a second then. Any other discussion?
Yeah, so in the debt offering, it talks about Houston Park improvement at $100,000. Now, I think you were talking about using some park improvement fund to offset it, is that?
Not that, so that will be 150 that we already borrowed for last year, plus 100,000 there will get us to 250, plus the 125 from the park development fund.
Okay.
Will be the full scope of the
Okay,
project.
so this completely jives with this 277?
Yep.
Okay.
Good question.
Any other discussion? All right. All those in favor then?
Aye.
Oh, we had a second. Yeah, Maureen.
Yep, Lorraine.
Yeah. No, it's fine. She'll yell next time. How's that? All those in favor then?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? Motion carries. All right, then we'll move to the combo meeting, Utilities and Public Works. Chris?
Yes, Public Works and Utilities met in a joint meeting on the 12th of March at 5 p.m. The first thing we talked about was discussing regional sanitary sewer and stormwater infrastructure needs regarding final phase of Coyle South and the farm area that's planned for neighborhood developments. There was a lot to discuss. Can I turn it over to you, Josh, just to kind of talk about it?
Sure, yeah. We had a conversation at that meeting about how the farm interceptor from Vilas right up through the old farm golf course that would then take on Coyle South and attach to Cottage Grove Road, and how that would function and how that was planned. It's been planned for a long time. There's actually easements through the farm golf course for that interceptor, and really it's a catalyst to get that Coyle South to develop without having to put in additional infrastructure for Coyle South. So they would have like a redundant system, 2 sewer systems in there if this wasn't used. And then this interceptor also takes a lot of the sewer relief off of the existing system that flows through the center of the community. So this will then pick up West Lawn and all of that development, and further to the north and further to the west in the future. So it's kind of a relief sewer that's been planned for, 15 plus years now, and it's just the timing is right to start to think about it and try to implement it.
And furthermore, it was included in when we created the TIF district number 8 as a potential project within that district, and with Hamburg's ready to move forward with completion of the final phase of Coyle South, just the residential portion of that project, which is 16 homes, would cover any of the TID's obligations to that infrastructure. So then future developers of the farm golf course, the Tierneys and Hamburg's would have their normal portion of mains that they would contribute towards this project on. For instance, I believe 8-inch is the standard main for the village, so that they would pay for the equivalent of an 8-inch main, and then the larger regional infrastructure that's above and beyond that, the upsizing of that cost would be picked up by the TIF district. But ultimately, this would all be outlined in future approvals through development agreements. But that's what we would anticipate. But there's a funding source to pay for all of that.
All right, and then engineers report, West Lawn resubmitted drawings for proposed lift station at the end of February. Quarry Ridge Phase D, contractor finished utility construction in March, and they're gonna start street construction this summer. Amazon had a pre-construction conference in the first week of March. They are submitting their final traffic statements to the DOT and the county and the village that will be forthcoming. Hayday, they did their PIP, we know that. Coyle South, we just talked about the sewer. Street and PEDS, we're going to get to in a second. SCADA upgrades, construction meeting was scheduled for the first week of March, and they're installing a new flow meter at well 3. Well number 2, preliminary design report is being prepared, and they're going to go over that with Village in March. And Hydrite is relocating a water main, the village-owned water main is being relocated on Hydrite's property. The director's report. Rain barrels are for sale if anyone's interested in rain barrels for Earth Day this year. We have an e-waste event coming up at the end of April, April 26th at the old Public Works shop. Spring cleanup day was Thursday, March 7th. The Public Works and utility staff did some just off the road cleanup on Bus Road. There was one that wasn't in here. Public Works had some excess salt, and we are selling that to Fitchburg. And then the Utility Commission adjourned, and the Public Works Commission talked about the recommendation for the bid award for the 2025 Streets and Pedestrian Improvement Project. So that was the streets that are getting repaired are Bonnie Road, Heather Drive, Heather Court, and Hawthorne Court. There were 4 alternatives. The first one was redoing the Bonnie Road and Progress Drive intersection. One was repaving the multi-use path behind Johnson Health Tech. One was putting some pedestrian improvements on the Wheeled Bridge, Main Street, Taylor Street intersection. And then the fourth alternative was potentially opting for a 4.5-foot railing instead of a 3.5-foot railing. Just due to cost, the only alternative the Public Works Committee decided to go with was alternative 3, which was the pedestrian improvements for Main Street, Wheeled Bridge, and Taylor Street. And that passed Public Works, and that's what's before us tonight. So I don't know if anyone else wants to talk about that. Is Kyla on, or?
Kyla's not on, she's traveling. Is there, is there any other questions about that specific bid?
No, I had a question on the engineering's update. So the Amazon facility talks about there was a pre-construction conference held the first week of March.
Yep.
And I guess my question is, a schedule was going to be provided to the village after that, okay? And I guess the final plan for those roadways, and they're going to begin construction in late '25. When are we going to see kind of an update on what the road improvements are for County Highway N and County T?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the pre-construction meeting was for the utilities only. So it was the sewer and the water that they would be taking from TT up into their site. And then they'll have another meeting once those improvements are finalized. So they believe they've just finalized their TIA. It was their traffic impact analysis for that site. They came back with a revised one to the state, county, ourselves as the village. It's really county and state jurisdiction on both those roadways. So it went back and forth, and they were on their last round of comments before finalizing that. Their development team has given that to the state and county. We are waiting on final, comments back or acceptance of that. After that, their design team will design the improvements that are taking place on both of those roadways.
Okay, thank you. I guess on that, I know it's under county jurisdiction.
Yep.
But everybody in this community, I think, deserves an update on what's going to happen. So as soon as we have that,
Yep.
I would like to make sure that somehow that gets communicated out and people are aware what the plan is.
We have seen some of the traffic information, but they don't have the actual design of the improvements completed at this point. Yep.
I didn't realize that this was just for the water and sewer.
Yep.
So thank you.
Sorry that I moved on before
No,
you.
not a problem.
The one other thing I did want to mention was the low bid was from Parisi Construction, and it was 1.39 essentially million, and was less than what we thought it might cost.
Yep, for the base bid, it was under what we thought. And we kind of knew going into this that we were gonna add some additional things, just wondering where the costs were gonna come in. So that's why Kyla suggested not moving forward with a couple of alternative bids as part of that, because then they went outside of that overall budget.
There was some discussion, myself included, about wanting to fix, wanting to fix the intersection of Progress and Bonnie. But Bonnie's going to be redone in a couple of years, so there's an opportunity to do it at that time as well. So we decided to not do it now, so that we could fit it into financial planning for the future.
Yep. And kind of to that point, as kind of discussed, the final recommendation, we ultimately, you'll see, it's $140,000 less than budget. That has a combination of a couple things. We didn't bring forward as much unspent bond proceeds from 2024 as we thought. Additionally, the paving was a little bit, the kind of street maintenance paving was a little bit more. Ultimately, this represents $9,000 less than what was in the financial management plan as it pertains to streets. And that's why ultimately when Kyla, Josh and I were talking about this, we didn't move forward, or we're not recommending bringing forward something that was more expensive than what was in the financial management plan. We use that as kind of the guardrails.
Any other questions regards to the discuss and consider?
I'll make a motion that we approve the bid award for the 2025 Streets and Pedestrian Improvements Project as presented.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, thank you, Haley. Any other discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? If you abstain, motion carries. Anything else, Chris?
And then we adjourned.
Okay. Police Commission, Chief, anything there you want to share?
So, Police Commission met on Thursday, March 13th at 5:45 at MSB. There was a quorum, called meeting to order. From there, they went into closed session to interview candidates. Came out of closed session, advancing 3 names for eligibility list for further hiring procedures. After that, then there was discussion related to the deputy chief job description with some questions about verbiage and terminology in it that's under review, and they adjourned at approximately 8:15 p.m.
Any questions for Chief? All right, thanks, Chief. Next, then we move to reports from village officers. Rick, you're up first. Legal briefs.
I have nothing to report.
All right. Cameron, you got a couple budget amendments here. You want to talk about those?
Yep, not a lot going on. The first one relates to the Houston Park improvements. This is transferring $125,000 from the Park Development Fund to the Equipment Replacement Fund, to Fund 412, the Public Infrastructure, which the project costs are going to occur. So that will bring the total for 2025 cost to $344,450. Again, we had spent some money in 2020 for design of that project. So that's not all in cost. That's just the portion that's going to happen in 25. The rest had occurred in 2024. I'll just touch on the second amendment while I'm at it. Because the bid was accepted or was approved, the following is what the recommended or the proposed budget amendment, which would memorialize the action that was taken to accept those bids.
Any questions for Cameron?
I'll make a motion that we approve the budget amendment 2025-002 and 2025-003 as presented.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and second then. Any other discussion?
I just got one question on the and maybe we went over this, so I apologize if this is duplication, but the Wheelbridge Main Street intersection, the original budget was 310, now it's 90. What did we cut out of the scope for 220?
So originally that intersection, we were looking at alternatives, different ways we could improve it, mainly for PEDs. And we came up with some bump out solutions, some median solutions. Ultimately, a lot of those, as we came forward to Public Works, a lot of those solutions were deferred or thought, well, you know, do we really want to spend the money on there if other development could be occurring and then impacting that? So we went with a little bit more modest of a solution where we were going to install the RFBs, put a crosswalk both on the south side, there's one there today, and improve the one in the north with the RFB push buttons. Those push button overheads can then be removed someday off the bases and used somewhere else too, if that intersection were to be changed in the future. So
Okay.
trying to solve the solution but not spend too much money at that particular site.
Got it. So basically doing the bare minimum so that down the road we can do it right. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
And we've been talking about that intersection for a while as well. Yeah, so it's good to finally have that one planned out. Any other questions? All right, we have a motion second then. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? Motion carries. Next then, we move to communication miscellaneous business. First up, consideration of the vouchers.
I'll make a motion that we approve the vouchers as presented.
And I'll second.
All right, we have a motion second then. Any other discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? Motion carries. Next, correspondence. We did, the entire board got a very nice email from Stephen Way in regards to all the efforts that Matt and Cameron have taken regarding the finance-related questions and plan, et cetera, for the library referendum. So the board did receive that. Any other correspondence? All right, upcoming community events. Anybody want to shout anything out? All right, then we'll move on to future agenda items. Matt, anything you want to call out? Well, plan commission stuff.
We'll likely have a lease to consider for new tech that could be ready for the next meeting. That's all I have.
Okay. All right. Next, then, we had a closed session, which I believe is now mute from what we've heard.
Yeah, there's no reason to have a closed
Yeah.
session.
So then we will move to item 13.
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
Non-debatable. All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thanks, everybody. Remember, it's Tuesday, not Monday.
I'll get a bunch of things.
Okay.